Before we get into 2024, let's take a look back at 2023, how they finished. Texas went 12-2, pretty good year, Big 12 champs, left the right way, got into the college football playoff for the first time. A lot of exciting games. Kansas State game comes to mind. Love the way we beat Texas Tech and Oklahoma State to finish the season. To me, that was just a mark on our exit. So, about 2023, what were y'all's favorite moments? And then what do we do well in 2023 that we need to continue to do in 2024, or what did we not do good that we need to improve upon?
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I think my highlight of the year was beating Bama in Tuscaloosa. I mean, by 10, probably could have been by more, in all honesty. That was just an exciting time to watch Texas. I feel like we all knew we had that potential to have a special year, and that win really kind of gave you more belief of, hey, this can actually be something special. Like we are moving in the right direction because we've seen the fool's gold year after year after year for the last, 10, 12 years, right? That finally getting there and doing that was just next level. And then to piggyback off what you said, yeah, dominating just those last two guys on the way out of the Big 12 and putting an L on every last opponent we had before we left the Big 12 was fantastic. So I think that was just one of the best ways to leave a conference you could ask for.
And we started some new traditions with that win over Alabama too. I believe
Yeah.
a mandatory pregame tequila shot. After the success that I had on the Alabama game, right?
Oof. Yes. My body definitely remembers that. That was a night.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a lot of fun. There was so many awesome moments. Um, Big games, to win big games, to finish games for once. Felt like the past 5 years, Texas was always in every game. Throughout the Tom Herman era, we were in every single game. In the beginning of Sark, I think the first season we went 5-7 with Sark, and all seven of those games came within like a one, or majority of those games were like a one-score game to finish. And so for us to be able to like kind of just turn it over and be able to finish close games, even games that really shouldn't be close, like U of H and Kansas State, being able to see us finish, especially on the road too, was awesome. In the way we finished Alabama. I
Did
thought
we the last 5 minutes of the clock down in that game?
Yeah,
Just
I think we ran the ball with 8 minutes left in the game and just ran it straight.
That's wild.
Yeah. Um, so as far as my favorite one goes, I remember vividly when we got when they released the college football playoff and who made it. Going into that, I didn't think Texas had a chance, even though we only had one loss. But then the more people were speculating about it, the more Vegas was putting odds on it. It felt like we had a chance. And then I was sitting in the car with my family, and we literally had ESPN up on the Bluetooth, and we were listening to it. I remember we just like screamed in euphoria when we actually made it. So that was pretty awesome. That or Brett Yormark having to hand the Big 12 trophy over to Sark and just watching everyone just rain booze on him for a solid 15 minutes.
yeah, I bet he felt like Roger Goodell up there at the draft getting booed so hard.
Yeah. I almost started to feel bad for him, but I never got to that point.
No,
He
never.
had everything coming to him. I do hold grudges, especially when it comes to college football. So, turning to the 2024 season, though, I mean, certain things I'm looking forward to is one thing I'm looking forward to is this team going to have a complacency issue, right? We've seen successful teams kind of lose that dog in them to get better and to continue to move forward. So are we going to have any kind of complacency on the team, or is this truly like what Sark is saying, that these guys are hungry? The only thing that they're thinking about are championships. Besides that, and some depth in some injury prone areas, I think we've got a lot of strength heading into 2024.
Yeah, Jerry Jones says he's all in too. So, we
Yeah,
got to prove it on the field.
we're all in. We're all in this season. We're always all in, Jerry. Yeah, I think definitely piggyback on some of those weaknesses, the complacency and the consistency throughout 4 quarters. We even against Bama, we weren't really consistent all 4 quarters. Like we had the lull, we kind of let them back in. But when the offense is clicking the way it's supposed to, the defense is making plays like we see because you've got those big playmakers, and you can do that for the majority of 4 quarters. I'm not saying you can do it every play. I understand that, but be able to do that for a majority of 4 quarters. I mean, with the talent level and the coaching and the schemes that I feel like Texas has this year, they should be able to beat anybody on their schedule. Not saying they're going undefeated right now, but just looking at it on paper, they absolutely have the ability to do it.
They have the talent.
Yeah. And a lot of those strengths are, I mean, things like the special teams. Special teams last year was phenomenal. Blocking punts, returning kicks, returning punts, all that was fantastic. I think additionally, the offensive line and run game, if those can maintain as a strength, I know we obviously just lost CJ and Christian, but at the same time, they've developed well year after year those positions where, I mean, JB came up last year out of nowhere, right? I think we've got Jaden Blue obviously back there, and Wisner and Jarrett Gibson back there. So I know they're going to have to bring in a couple other guys, but if that offensive line can be as good as they're supposed to be, I mean, I think they're ranked number 3 in PFF or something like that going into the season. So if they can be that good, then they should still be able to run the ball. I know it's going into the SEC. I understand that, but you're still bringing up one of the top offensive lines in the entire nation. So if they can run the ball but behind that offensive line, I think that would be huge. I also think it'll help with Quinn's development. I know it's not necessarily a strength in my opinion. I think Quinn is getting there. I don't think he's all the way there. Especially with 4 or 5 new receivers coming in, that's going to be a tough ask to ask him to just immediately put the team on his back. Can he? Certainly. But I don't know if I've seen him do that yet. I think Sark has been able to kind of scheme around it as opposed to just letting, hey, Quinn, here's the cape, go win the game for us. It doesn't happen like that in the 4th quarter all that often. Very close to doing it against Washington in the playoff game, right? Make a couple of better throws to AD or somebody, Now you're talking about it, right? But he never was really the whole reason why we won and just dominated the game against somebody who was of level competition, right? I mean, hell, Oklahoma is a great example as well. He played pretty good, but he was never like, I'm going to take the team and take us there. You guys just follow me. So I'd love to see if that offensive line, the run game, can help develop Quinn to be that guy that we all think he can be.
All right. Well, let's segue into the key departures and additions as well as injuries that are going on, coaching staff as well. So not just limited players, but key departures. I mean, we're losing from 2023 ex big play guy, Jatavian Sanders, Byron Murphy, Devondre Sweat, two big humans on the inside of that D line. I think Byron Murphy is, to me, looks like Aaron Donald Jr. I don't know if he's going to be as good as Aaron Donald, but I feel like they're both kind of undersized D linemen, and they just stopped the inside and pass rush as well. So losing him, I think, was big. He left early. Jonathan Brooks, obviously, can't remember his, when he got injured, but damn good running back. A.D. Mitchell, Jay Whit Dog, and then from the transfer portal, we got, I think we were talking earlier, basically a whole new set of weapons for Quinn. We got Bolden, Golden, Isaiah Bond, Amari Nyblack. We got Trey Moore from UTSA. We stole him from our little brother, little cousin, whatever. And we got some D linemen from Arizona. So glad we got some replacements to those guys we lost in the interior. But what do you guys think? We need to replace. Can we replace some of those guys? What do we think of these additions? Maybe some freshmen as well.
Getting all those receivers in is exciting, but also a little worrisome. That's a lot of chemistry you have to build in a short amount of time, even from the spring to now. I mean, heck, pretty sure X and Quinn were roommates for 2 years, and they still weren't always on the same page, right? There's a whole like, oh, receiver, quarterback, best friends in the room, like they're supposed to have that level of chemistry. It does sound like there's a lot of really good reports out there from scrimmages and fall practice so far, so that's helpful. But that is one that worries me because again, like we talked about earlier, I don't know if Quinn is ready to take that step to be that guy to say, I don't care who I'm throwing it to, it's going to be complete, and we're going to march down this field, right? So we'll see how that works out. The two, I think, real important ones that we did get are those two defensive linemen, TSFA and Bill Morton from Arizona, coming over, I believe, with their defensive coordinator or whoever the coach was. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Thank you. He is going to bring some exotic looks over, and I think bringing in that depth that we needed on the defensive lineman was huge. So that, I think, is probably my biggest worry about the transfers coming in, and also my favorite transfers we got just in regards to depth on that defensive line, especially going to the SEC.
I mean, well, we had two wide receivers drafted in the first 2 rounds. We had tight end taken in the 3rd round, and then Jordan Whittington was a late round pick. Those are your top 4 pass catchers of 2023, all gone, all drafted. So how do you replace them? Look, I'm not as worried about the wide receiver room. I feel like the talent level is at minimum equal to last year. The one thing that's nice about this year is we have depth at wide receiver. Last year, I mean, who we have stats on us? Like, who else had a pass? Who else had a catch outside of those 4 guys?
Yeah,
Deontay Cook had maybe a handful.
He did. He had at least 100 yards.
Yeah,
More when they put in Arch and garbage time. They were trying to get that connection going for the future.
Yeah, 100 more maybe. So and we were very lucky.
192. But that's pretty much it. I mean, who could forget about Byron Murphy's touchdown catch?
And Devondre Sweat had a touchdown catch. He flashed the Heisman in Oklahoma State game.
He did, yeah. Yeah, otherwise, everybody else pretty much caught the ball's gone. I'm pretty sure Casey's gone in New York, even Robinson. So, yeah, I mean, we lost that ton of receiving.
Well, as injury prone as Jordan Whittington was and X was, the fact that those guys stayed healthy all year and we were able to rely on those significant pass catchers throughout. I mean, even Ad and I had injury issues in Georgia, right? So the fact that we had all of them staying on the field pretty much the entire year was pretty remarkable. But this year, I mean, I'm excited because we got a lot of depth. I think Stark said that he's comfortable playing 7 wide receivers. So you got all those transfers that y'all mentioned. We still have Deontay Cook, who's going to be a sophomore. We got DeAndre Moore, who's a burner, who's going to be a sophomore. You got Ryan Niblett, who they say might be playing a little bit of running back at the same time. So you have a ton of talent. You've got a ton of talent that's already there that knows the system, along with these transfer portals. I mean, iron sharpens iron. We're gonna get to see a pretty good wide receiver. So I'm not super concerned about the depth at wide receiver, the turnover at wide receiver. I don't know. I think probably for me the biggest negative that I've seen so far is that we lost Bo Davis, our defensive line coach. Like, I remember Bo Davis' first impression for me was after the Iowa State loss. I think that was year 1 of Sark, when he sat there and cussed out the entire team on the bus and said, "Get in the transfer portal, if you're not about that." And that mantra kind of stuck with the team throughout the past 2 years. And you could see, its impact. He got rid of some of those bad culture fits, and everyone was really bought into the program. So it's tough to see him. Kenny Baker, I mean, I think he came from the NFL. Obviously, he developed talent, but he's certainly missing out on some major recruiting battles we've had. And we just lost a defensive lineman to A&M, where we were the favorite for him for a long time. I think that's been kind of a recurring theme. We don't have a lot of defensive linemen backfill. We're having to go to the transfer portal for defensive linemen, which is always hard because there's always a need for them. So to me, that's probably the biggest loss of the year, as far as attrition goes, is Bo Davis.
Real quick on that, Bo Davis lost. I don't know if you know this, but the reason he was willing to stay, but he wanted Texas to get his son enrolled so that he could coach his son. And there was something going on with, I don't know if it was academics or the enrollment process where they weren't going to be able to get him in time. So he was. So that's why he had to go to LSU. His son was able to get in there back in the spring. So that's really why that happened in regards to what I've read and seen about it. Kenny Baker, the dude, I think we got him from the Dolphins. And if you look at the Dolphins, the talent that he was just coaching there is pretty remarkable. And I think he's only been coaching for I don't know, he's been coaching for 10 years, but he's moved up almost every year to a new, better position, to a new, better job, meaning whether it be like actually talent wise or just to a better college. And every time he's had substantially better players that have come out from under him. So I think it's going to take time. He's going to have to get his guys, and it's probably going to look different from what Bo Davis did. But from what I've read and seen about Kenny Baker, I feel pretty good about it.
Well, he's got a lot to work with, right? I mean, the one thing that's nice is we did have a pretty good backfield defensive lineman. We got Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton coming in. They've been with the program for 4 years already, so they'll be both of their 5th years. And then you've got all these defensive lineman transfers that we talked about, plus a bunch of young guys behind them. So you're probably going to be 3 deep on the defensive tackle position, which is going to be really nice because we were talking about finishing games earlier. You finish games from offensive line to defensive line.
Yep. I always feel like that's kind of been the difference of the SEC, because I think Texas we've always recruited top talent, but I feel like the difference has been the depth of these defensive lines, and they just roll in these guys, and it's a lot pushing big guys around as no line group when Georgia's got 2 deep, 4 or 5 stars that can move as well, big athletes. So Key players to watch for this year. I'm looking at Isaiah Bond to try to fill Xavier Worthy's shoes, be our big play threat. Obviously, there's a lot of guys in contention for that. But I think that there's pressure on him certainly coming from Alabama. We saw what Adnan Mitchell did coming from Georgia. We saw what Sanders did coming from Alabama as well. Nyblack coming from Alabama. So we've got good history of these transfers coming from these top SEC schools. So I think there's pressure for him, and I think we need someone to have the big play. And then on defense, I like to see Trey Moore get after the quarterback. Hopefully he racks up some sacks. I thought he was great at UTSA. So let's see how he performs against better talent week in, week out. And then
last pass rusher that Texas had that was notable.
Man, I want to say it was that was when we were in school. Sergio Kindle? No, Jackson Jeffcoat.
He had that one guy. I think he got drafted by the Bengals.
Yeah, and he's the one that had the late hit in the Super Bowl that cost him the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the last one I think I remember.
honestly, we need another Brian Rack though. We need that kind of guy on the team again. I don't recall seeing anybody like that. Even Sergio Kendall, I don't think he lived up to his expectations. He was certainly good, played in the NFL. But Rack was a beast.
Yeah, I think Kindle like fell down the stairs or something and busted his head open. I don't know if he played much after that. Yeah,
But who are you guys looking for this season? Key players, position group.
Go ahead, Brett.
Well, I mean, from an offensive perspective, you recruited the best offensive line in the class ever 3 years ago. So this is the year that those guys turn into upperclassmen. And so if that offensive line that we're currently fielding with losing one starter from last year isn't shooting for the Joe Moore award, then they've got the wrong priorities. That our offensive line should be fantastic, too deep, not just the starters. All those guys are up and coming, they're juniors now, and that should be the case for the next 2 years. That should be the goal. Defense for me, I mean, it's the defensive backs. When we lost games last year, when teams kept it close in the second half, it was always in the second half where teams would come back. So when they started throwing the ball, pass rush wouldn't get there, defensive backs couldn't maintain their coverage for an extended period of time, and would get carved up by quarterbacks that are not known for carving people up, like U of H. Who did U of H throw well against last year besides us, or Kansas State? Like Kansas State was known as a two-man running team, so a jump in defensive back would be desirable, and we've got the talent for that.
Yeah, hopefully we got guys that know how to turn their head, unlike Watts. He just sticks his arms up.
Yeah, just be tall. I think they've really made a heavy focus on finding DBs who can cover and who can play all three DB positions. And I think they went out and found even coverage safeties with Nkuku coming over to the point where I think they feel like they have three safeties that they can play at any point. Jade is going to be able to play in any position. I think they're going to try and win him the Thorpe Award, but it's not going to be the Thorpe Award because he's the best DB at this position. It's going to be look at how versatile he is, look at how many plays he can make no matter where he is. I mean, heck, he led the team in tackles for loss 2 years ago, which as a DB is insane. I think he had like 11 and a half. So, I mean, was it Michael Huff, right? It was like, come on, here's your jersey. Let's go get you a Thorpe Award, right?
You were saying earlier about the special teams last year. Like it took me back to the Dwayne Aquina days. Like it seemed like we had a blocked punt. Like we were playing these like preseason games, but we were like tied with Virginia Tech for like the most special team scores.
Right.
And then the Thorpe Award. I mean, we had Michael Hupp, Michael Griffin, Aaron Ross, even Cedric Griffin's brother.
Yep.
He's a beast. I mean, that was
DBU.
Yeah, we were DBU for a few years. We kind of lost it.
No, they might have a good chance coming back, but I love the DB group this year. I think they got a chance to be special. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Alfred Collins and Ethan Burke play. I think AC was now fifth year senior, I'm pretty sure. He's had those splash plays, like we did the one-hand interception a couple years ago in the bowl game. That's a big sacks and great stops, but the consistent motor like that we never saw at T'Vondre Sweat, right? Until it happened, and then you go, okay, the dude's unstoppable. Can Alfred Collins do that? Ethan Burke, I'm pretty sure he's our leading sack returner this year, and if he is, then he can just kind of do the same thing he did last year. I'm pretty sure he got hurt for a couple games last year, so his numbers could have been even better. But I think he had 2 sacks against Alabama, at least a sack and a half, and it's just a monster. He's lengthy, he's athletic, he's got great push, he's got great get off. So I know we were talking about Vernon Brown earlier too. I'm really looking forward to those two guys on defensive line. The linebackers, we are thin, like we mentioned, but hopefully we can mask that by having a really good defensive line again. And then those linebackers can just kind of play free without the blocker in their face all the time. They can get around, get the edges, help run stop, whatever the case may be. But if that middle of the defensive line can do what we think they can do, I think that's going to be good. For offense, my player to watch, I think, is going to be Cyrus Bolden. That dude has been unbelievable since he got on campus. I mean, you can look at any report in the past 2 weeks, and it's nobody can cover him. He's making punt returns. He's making big plays, splash plays, out jumping people. Like, if he's the jitterbug that we think he can be, I think he's going to be a starting receiver on the whatever, rolling out 3 receivers when we're in 11 personnel. And that's saying something for a guy who just got here not even a month ago, right? Or about a month ago.
Yeah, he's the only wide receiver on the team that wasn't there for spring ball.
Right.
And he seems like I've heard the same thing just now. It seems like he is the guy, not going to be a guy. Like he is the guy.
Man. He says, "I want to get drafted. Let's go. This is my chance." So, I think he's playing for paycheck.
All right. Well, let's go to some predictions and what we think is going to happen this year. We can start with maybe the key games. I think we all expect Colorado State, UTSA, Louisiana Monroe. I think we expect wins there. But week 2 at Michigan in the Big House, defending national champs. A little bit of controversy. Maybe their heads aren't in the right place. I think it's gonna be a tough game, but they got a new quarterback as well. I think it's a tough game. What do you guys expect on that
one? I think we can win. I think we win by 10 to 14. I think we can kind of go in there kind of the same attitude we had against Alabama, especially with them being the defending champions. I think we're going to come in feeling like the underdog and ready to play despite how much they lost. If they bring in this quarterback, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'll get it about next time we have a show. But this quarterback they have, to be dual threat-esque. I think his last name is Orji. I'm not kidding. If he is the starting quarterback, I think he's going to cause some problems, but it'll be a really good test for the defense because dual threats always get us. I don't know why.
Yeah. I think if Michigan is going to beat you, Michigan's going to beat you with their lines. They're going to control the ball, and it's going to be the most boring game ever. They're going to beat you 17 to 10. It's like watching the NFL. So I think as long as we can get our playmakers, who should be better than their playmakers, the ball in space, then we can probably actually score against them. With this offensive line that we're touting, we should be able to do that. So that's my prediction. They got a new quarterback. They should be able to score more than 20 points, and we should be able to score somewhere in the mid-30s like we did against Alabama last year.
I think we got to get the lead early, make them play out of their comfort zone, which is run the ball 50 times a game. And we saw when Harbaugh was out last year, that's all that coach did as an internet coach is run the ball.
So 30 straight times to beat
yeah. I mean, that was Penn State was no easy win either, but So we got Michigan, be a tough one. We expect to win there. Georgia, I think, is the next toughest game. Let's talk Georgia real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. I think Georgia's gonna be the only. I think it's gonna be our first loss. I think we're going undefeated until we play Georgia. Then we get that kind of stretch of games. Things are gonna get tough. Georgia's tough. What do you guys think there?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's been the team the past 3 or 4 years. Kirby Smart's going to have his guys prepared, but that is going to be Texas's first opportunity to host a real SEC team, not Mississippi State, but Georgia. So Georgia's going to be coming in. It's likely going to be a top. It's going to be a top 3 battle. I don't know if Texas is going to be ranked 3 or 2, depending on what happens in the Ohio State Oregon game. I think Texas is going to win. I think the excitement to be able to play Georgia at home, the lost opportunity that we had against Alabama at home 2 years ago, the lost opportunity we had against LSU at home 4 or 5 years ago. This is the opportunity to get that key win. When was the last time Texas had a key win at home like this?
Yeah, great question. It's been a minute.
Ohio State and
Notre Dame.